All right, we do a mic check. Everybody good? All right, we're just going to get right to questions. I think everybody was here for the meeting, so I'll introduce Scott Sauer, General Manager.
Okay, I'll just take questions.
Can we focus in on what you're doing in Harrisburg and trying to, because really the whole thing is going to clinch on what happens in Harrisburg. We know they have a June 30th deadline, so they're going to go past that. Tell us how optimistic you are at this point. You said there's been some movement last week. Can we discuss all that?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's familiar with the House bill that passed last week. It was good, positive movement. It has to be entertained, of course, in the Senate. But what I can say is that my conversations over the last several months have evolved from just information gathering to now very specific questions about SEPTA's operations, mass transit as a whole. We're sharing financials and sharing operational improvements that we've made, some of which I've talked about every month, improvements to security, improvements to cleaning, all the things that people are experiencing here, I've been able to relay in one-on-one meetings, group meetings with Senate leadership, with our Democrat leadership, in both houses. And I feel encouraged. I hesitate to put a ratio on it, but I certainly feel better today than maybe I felt 2 or 3 months ago. I don't know what a solution looks like yet because I don't think anybody else does either. But when the time comes, I just really appreciate the fact that they're still continuing to engage with us in conversation, and now it appears that they're at least negotiating amongst themselves to try to find a resolution of this, and that's what we're looking for.
August 24th, we're going to see the first
go,
cut,
no
right?
go for them to give something to
Well, go, no go for us. We're going to charge ahead now. We have a budget. It's a passed budget, and we're going to move ahead. We're going to start the plan. If something develops between now and August 24th, depending on when, I don't want to put a firm date on it because it does take us time to change course. You think of us like a big ship in the ocean. It takes us a minute to get turned around. There's a lot of things we have to do for customers now to inform them of what's coming. Bus stops have to be eliminated. Whole schedules have to be disseminated. We have to do a lot of communication. Everything from the destination sign on the bus to the app that directs people's travel has to be adjusted to look like what the system looks like. And we're going to spend the next 7 weeks doing just that. If funding comes late in the summer, depends on how late, how quickly we can turn things around. So I don't want to put a firm drop-dead date on it. I'll just say that earlier is better, later is not.
Scott, we got a statement from Senate Majority Leader Joe Pittman, who didn't sound enthusiastic about giving SEPTA additional funding. He said something to the effect that the state has already given mass transit billions annually, and for SEPTA to ask for an additional, I think, $300 million, he said it's just hard to reconcile. What do you do to persuade people like himself and other lawmakers in the Senate to give SEPTA more money to avoid this particular?
I mean, first I'll acknowledge that we're very grateful for the funding we get from Harrisburg. We SEPTA, we get over $1 billion in funding annually from the state. That is both operating and capital investment. Yes, so Senator Pittman, of course, is correct that we do receive a lot of funding already from Harrisburg, as do the rest of our peer transit agencies throughout the Commonwealth. So the $300 million is not all allocated to SEPTA. So based on formula funding, we would receive about $168 million of that funding, that additional funding. But I would simply say that SEPTA and our peer agencies in the Commonwealth, we are an investment. We are an investment in the entire Commonwealth. That they benefit not only from the service we provide in the areas that we provide it, but they also benefit from the revenue that's generated from the economic activity that is a result of what we do. So while perhaps the senator's constituents don't directly see the benefit that SEPTA provides, they surely will when the revenues that come that help them do all the things that they need to do in their counties.
What scenario get some of it. Maybe not everything you want, but some of it. If that were to be the case, what is the thing of the things you approved today that people should count on as, that's definitely happening? Is it the fares are definitely going up even if we get half of what we're looking for? Or is it some bus routes are definitely going away even if we get some of it? What's the thing that's definitely happening even if you get some of the money?
Right. Well, without a firm fixed number, that's really hard to try to project. You know, the amount of funding we get, so let me first clear up that even with the funding that's been proposed by the governor, we still have to do things on our own to close our budget deficit. So $213 million, 168 will come from Harrisburg if the governor's proposal passes. Then there's local funding matches. The local counties match that by 15%, which closes the gap to about 190. The 213 is now reduced to about 20 million that we will have to find on our own to close the remainder of the budget. So if anything less than what's been proposed comes, that affects a lot of things. So the money that gets sent to us by the General Assembly also triggers a reduction in what the counties provide because they're only providing 15% of what the state provides. So without knowing what that number is, it would be very difficult for me to say, well, the fare increase will happen, but only a percentage of the bus stuff won't. It's really going to be dependent as once we know, then we'll be able to make more definitive plans. But you know, I don't want to sit here and mislead anyone that this will definitely happen if this number comes, because I don't know what that number will look like.
Let me ask Lauren's question another way. What
Yeah.
gets restored first if you get half a loaf?
Well, if you're saying it's truly half of 168, which gets me to what, 80 million, give or take. Yeah, that's a big number for us to try to close from 213, and if they give us 80, you know, we're talking about $130 million in a gap that we have to provide. I mean, that would take a lot of different forms. You know, buses and also keep in mind that service cuts, no matter how we do them, we have to be thoughtful because we have to do an equity analysis on our service cuts. So I can't just say I'm going to put all the railroad lines back and cut all the buses. You know, that certainly would not be fair for the customers in the region who utilize SEPTA every day. So we're just going to have to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how to do this in a way that's fair for our customers in the region and provides the best service that we can provide at the number that we receive.
Why are you doing a phased approach to these cuts? Why August and then September and then January? What's that all about?
So it's just this is the way that we could do the number of cuts that we needed to make in a way that wasn't just so immediately painful and still close the budget deficit. So the 20% was something we started started talking about last November. We were able to avoid that, but that was immediately back on the table. When we realized that the number that we were going to have as a result of the 20% service cuts and the 21.5% fare increase would not close the $213 million gap, we had to go back to the drawing board and find more cuts. So we phased it in. So what you see is the partial year of cuts in the beginning, because it's only 10 months in the first 20%, and then the second 25% is only 6 months of the year. And that combined with dipping into our service stabilization fund allowed us to close the whole gap and do it in a way that was not everything all at once, but we could phase it in and make it, let's say, a little less impactful on customers and our own staff for that matter.
Do you think it will make any difference now that you've actually done it? In Harrisburg, do you think it will make any difference now that you have approved this? In other words, do you think anyone thought you were bluffing?
I'm sure that there was a little doubt out there that SEPTA, you know, I mean, I've heard it, and you all hear it, that SEPTA's always got their hand out. They're always asking for more money. And you know, we do. We're an instrumentality of the Commonwealth, so we require public funding. So yes, I believe there was probably a little bit of doubt out there. Probably not as much just before the vote as there were maybe back in February and March when we first started talking about it. No, I don't know that this changes the conversation any more than what has already been going on, because I believe that the lawmakers that I've met with believed that this was coming. I don't think there was any doubt in their minds that this was going to happen.
What are the concerns with losing the ridership that agencies were trying to gain back since the pandemic started? Because people were probably just going to see, well, they're going to cut 50 bus lines, I'm done riding
It's a huge concern. You know, what we're unsure of is how many people will react today and try to seek alternative transportation as opposed to waiting for cuts to actually happen. So what we've always been concerned about is people anticipating something that may not materialize, but you know they don't want to risk it. I mean, the closer we get to the beginning of the school year, parents and people are going to make plans for how they travel. We don't want to mislead them that this might not happen, but we also don't want them to run away from us today. Give us some time to see if we can work this out. So it is a big concern.
What's your message to riders? SEPTA is a lifeline for so many in this region.
And we acknowledge that. And this is not a budget that we take any pride in. We want to provide the best service and continue to provide the best service. I mean, my remarks today, I talked about ridership increasing and weekend ridership in particular, and it's something we've always had our eye on. We've created a new bus network. We've worked on a project we call Reimagining Regional Rail, all with the idea that we're going to do better by our customers. So I guess my message to our customers is we are still continuing the fight. We have this, please don't think of this, and our board chairman said it best, don't consider this the end. This is the beginning for us to continue this fight, and hopefully that we can resolve this before the cuts come. And I just ask our customers to try to hang with us. We're still fighting. Do your own fighting. Find your legislators, talk to them, tell them how impactful this is to your life. All right.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.